What is up, my nerds? Welcome back. It is episode 10. Episode 10, Zach. Yes. Show them digits.
Show them thingies.
Dude, 10 episodes
10
already.
episodes.
Isn't that crazy?
It's flown by.
It is flown by. It's wild. Is it like, I thought when we were at 5, I was like, man, we got to do 5 more to get to double digits. But then it zoomed by so quick. There was so much stuff that came out and that was happening in those later episodes, especially like with Last of Us and Hogwarts Legacy came out and all this other things. So I think, and we talked about it, that we should do maybe a theme. Top 10 lists of things.
What a perfect opportunity on the 10th episode to talk about some 10 things.
Yeah. One thing I could say, I actually been in my free time, I've been kind of jumping into a little bit newer anime lately. So what are can you list at least 10 animes that you would put in your tier?
In my like top 10?
1 through 10.
Top 10 tier?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I could. Let's see here. Okay. I like to go, this is a very laid back podcast, so I like to personally. It's very difficult for me to put things in sequential order. So my top 10s are going to be like tied. Some might be higher than others slightly, but rather than semantically being like, oh, this one is slightly better, this is a 5, instead of bumping itself out, I just like to throw out the top 10 in general, because my mood might shift. There are going to be times where I would say, so I'm not saying number 1, but the first one I'm listing, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan to me is one of those animes that will stand the test of time. It's a great story. It has captivated me. But that said, Attack on Titan can be a little overwhelming at times. So I don't know if So that's a good example of like it's on the top 10 list, but I don't know if it like where it would rank. I don't like ranking. It makes me feel judgmental. We'll say Attack on Titan. I think My Hero Academia goes up there. Dragon Ball Z, or any. Let's just say Dragon Ball in general. The Dragon Ball franchise,
the universe of Dragon Ball.
The DBU.
Okay, I like that.
Yu Yu Hakusho. Shout out to Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
That was one of my earlier animes. I love the artistic style back then. It's that kind of like more scratchy design. It felt very like drawn, but I enjoyed the story. It was, it was every nerd kid's fantasy. He points his finger and goes bang, and it shoots energy out, and like, it was that like, oh, you've got somebody who's been training their whole life, but he's got grit and determination, which is all you need. It's like, this is a 1,000-year-old demon who's been torturing people their entire 1,000 years of existence. Here's a teenager who's real grumpy. He's stronger. So, okay,
it's classic 90s anime.
Overcoming with the power of friendship and determination. So that's what, 4? We got My Hero, Attack on Titan, the DBU, Yu Yu Hakusho. That's 4. Let's see. Where do I put it? I'm gonna put One Piece up there, even though I haven't finished it. It gives me the vibes. I like the art style. I think it's.
I mean, this doesn't have to be a list of ones that you finished.
Yeah, the ones that I enjoy. Yeah. Fuck anyone else who says anything differently. It's my list. Okay, so One Piece makes 5. Let me see. It's so funny when you're put on the spot to remember things that you yourself like, and you're like, I've never watched anime in my entire life.
Yeah, dude, you know what's crazy? Yeah, you know what's crazy? Like, before we get back into it, it's like you could watch at least 30 animes, just the 30 of them, right? So you could have 3 top 10 lists, and then like when you're on the spot to like name them, you're like, oh shit,
have I ever watched anime before? Okay, let's say, I want to say Demon Slayer because it's really good.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm gonna put it on with the option to take it off if I end up thinking of other things.
Well, why are you hesitant on putting Demon Slayer on your list?
It's just too new for me, which is, I know, crazy considering I just started One Piece, but that said, I'm also like 165 episodes into that, which Demon Slayer's not 165 episodes in. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I like it as a...
Just because it's new... Mm-hmm. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's not good.
That's true. It is very good thus far, but it has the opportunity to get worse. You know what I mean? You know how some things start off really strong and then they kind of like fumble their way forward? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood goes on the list. For sure goes on the list. That's one of those like, have I ever watched anime? And it's like, how did you forget Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? It's considered one of the best animes in your eyes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm at 7 right now.
So you're at 6 or 7
right now with Demon Slayer as a potential slot out if I think of something better. Okay. I don't think this technically constitutes as an anime, but I'm gonna put it on the list because fuck it, it's my list. Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's not technically anime.
It's debated.
It's a cartoon.
See, I think it should be. I feel like it should be.
Anime, and I don't know if there's like a specific definition for this, but anime tends to be Japanese cartoons that come over to America either subbed or dubbed, whereas Avatar: The Last Airbender is a cartoon, an American-style cartoon. But that said, it's my list, and you can't tell me what to do because I own this podcast. Ha 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 ha. So Avatar is going on the list. It's funny because there's a lot of other ones that I either have seen or have partially seen or that I need to see that I know would go on this list. Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, things like that. I'm sorry to the internet fans that I'm not picking better options. I am picking the very cliche options. But let me see what else. I feel like Death Note should go on there. I really enjoyed Death Note. So I'm going to give Death Note an honorable mention. So that gets me to 9. Oh man, am I forgetting? Are there any that are on your list that I'm forgetting? I'm like cheating off your paper. I'm like, hey man, I can only get to 9. What do you got?
All right. I'll list them out for you. Okay, what about Naruto?
Oh, Naruto. Okay, yeah. So Naruto, that bumps up to 10. I've got 2 alternates that I can knock out. Okay, this is gonna go over badly with nerds.
Sword Art.
Okay. So Demon Slayer is getting bumped for Sword Art. Although here's the thing, Sword Art Sword Art's gonna go on the list for sure, and it's gonna bump Demon Slayer.
Okay.
That said, Sword Art, I think I love it. It's a great series, but like by the time I got to season 3, I was like, what the fuck is happening? It gets crazy. And I think that I think the potential of Sword Art stands out more. Like the first half of the first season of Sword Art is arguably
all right, let's say
better.
Season 1.
Season 1. Okay. Yeah. Then Sword Art takes a bump. If nothing else, because Sword Art Sword Art's getting put on the list because even though it gets fucking weird, and this is what I was talking about with Demon Slayer, where like by the 3rd season, the end of the 3rd season, it's like I'm trapped in a different game, but my friend who I have 13 years of memories with because of the way time works in this thing turned into a giant sword and then died. Like it's arguably it gets weird. That's why, like, I'm hesitant with Demon Slayer because you never know. Demon Slayer could be like, "Wow, that's cool," and now he's a giant anvil for the rest of the series, and you're like, "What?" And they're like, "Anime's weird." Okay, so Sword Art will take it because if nothing else, Sword Art launched me towards a specific genre of like book, and so like I started watching Sword Art. I like the premise of player gets stuck in game and now they live their life in a video game, which then led me to reading the Sword Art progressive novels, which is them going floor by floor, which then led me to an entire genre of book I didn't know exist called lit RPG or literary RPG games, or books. Right. And that led me to my favorite audiobook franchise, which will be on another list we're going to do later. So I think it gets an honorable. It bumps out Demon Slayer, which is too new to... and also I had thought of another one and I forgot it. And I feel like this is, what was my other honorable mention? I don't know. This one gets an honorable mention. I don't know if it makes the list or not, but I think Digimon and Pokemon, I'm gonna tie them. Digimon and Pokemon have that like nostalgia pull really hard, and I think Digimon could have been the better franchise.
Dude, I actually just thought about this today. I just thought about this before we even started. I was like upstairs making breakfast, and I thought about this. I was like, man, I love Pokemon, but I thought it was weird that Ash stayed the same age throughout the whole thing. Whereas Digimon, they aged and they grew up.
They did a whole like
and
time skip and brought in a new generation where the kids went from like middle school to college ish. And then they brought in a new generation of middle schoolers, including, which was cool because they brought their little brother TK with them the first time, and he was like, you know,
and then Kari,
Kari, and so they got to like, then those guys got to be like, hey, I know we're also like high schoolers, but we got the experience. We've been to the Digimon world. Like, I also think it just
when we were 5.
I think merchandise wise, it could have been a better franchise. And it just didn't. Like, they just, I don't know if it was that Pokemon had 4 kids and Digimon had Konami, I think. But, like, they could have, I mean, the thing is with Pokemon, and this is kind of why I hated the Mega Evolutions in Pokemon. With Pokemon, it was always a linear but permanent change. So it's like, Charmander becomes Charmeleon permanently, and then Charmeleon becomes Charizard permanently. So when they did these little mega evolutions where they could evolve for just the battle, and then they evolve back, so it was like Charizard, and now it's Charizard X, and then he's just back to Charizard. I was like, this is just Digimon. Like, it's just straight up Digimon. Yeah. And I think Digimon had the better ability for franchising because you have all of these characters, Agumon into... whatever the dinosaur version of it was, and then the mega version, Greymon, and then Metal Greymon, and then War Greymon,
Armor War Greymon,
and then Black War Greymon was like a fucking
God,
he was
dude,
a beast.
Look, okay, I don't get hate to anyone who I love Pokemon just as much as the next person. But I don't know, Digimon just had a different thing for me. Like, it was just harder.
Like, Pokemon felt more slice of life, and Digimon felt more purposeful. Does that make sense? Like, there were never, like, super high stakes with Pokemon. It was we're following Ash's journey so that he could become the Pokemon leader, which is crazy because, like, it took 20 years, which is, like, to be fair, a realistic timeline to become a world champion. But... like, when the stakes are win the world championship and he fails, like, 9 times, and it's like, well, the Digimon universe has saved the universe and the multiverse, the digital verse, the real universe. They're like, and they did that 4 times over, like, 6 seasons. Meanwhile, Ash is on, like, season 20, and he's like, I'm gonna get it this time! And we're like, yeah.
And what's also stupid is that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of Charizard. I'm gonna let him free. I'm like, bro, he just like leveled up to level 60. How about you keep him? Like, and then start over.
Charizard's like, okay, I know I've not been listening to you for the last 5 seasons, but I'm finally on board. Yeah. Let's wreck some stuff. And he's like, you can leave now. That's okay. I'll keep using my unevolved Pikachu to win a world championship.
Yeah. Whereas, like, freaking Ty and all of them are running through the digital world because it's seeping into the real world. And they're like, well, you got to stop this dude because he's going to destroy our world. It had purpose behind
who's the bad guy? Oh, the literal devil in Digimon form? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I am Devilmon.
And how I mean, I don't want to get off on a crazy tangent.
That's what we
can
do
talk
here.
about that in a second. Yeah. But dude, I used to like. It was cool because what was cool about Digimon, at least they were in the real world. Like, they had real world problems. They were all doing like they're living their lives, but they also could go to the digital world and have their creatures like Agumon and all them, and then just try to be like that world's heroes and just have good, like, what kid didn't want to go into a different world and do what those guys were doing?
Also, like, it's funny because comparing it to Pokemon, the end of Digimon, the first wave of Digimon, I think it was the 2nd season technically, but like the end of Digimon, they were like, okay, the Digiverse is sealing itself. You guys got to get back on your side. We got to get back on our side. And then they like split, which is so sad as a kid. But then they're obviously able to revisit it in later seasons. Like, oh, this thing opened up. Like, I've got my Digimon back. Like, it was great. I was very happy about when they like reopened it. But it's funny because you're like, oh man, do they have to separate them? That's so sad. And then like Ash has been riding with the same people for the most part. For like, he rotates them, but he's got like Pikachu's always with him and like all this, and it's like. Maybe it overstayed its welcome a little bit. Maybe Digimon was right to kind of give it some time breaks so that people can grow. And like, I don't know. I think I can't remember if they eventually ended up like merging the two universes in Digimon, where it was like cool. Eventually, like Digimon can come here, we can go to the Digimon verse, and like the Digiverse and all that. But like. I don't think they did it. I think they made it so that there was always an opening so that they could always go visit the Digiverse. But I kind of want to go back and watch now. And the only problem with Digimon, and this happened with Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like I should put that on my list. They did this with Yu-Gi-Oh as well, where I stand by. This is why Pokemon has outlasted. Because when Pokemon changes things, they change it slightly. They have like a theme that they change. So it was like the original Pokemon and then the, Gold and Silver era. And then they started adding in like, now you can do like, you have theme bases. That's going to be the theme of this game. Cool. Good theme. Then it's going to be, you've got the theme of like the Mega Evolutions and then the Gigantor Evolutions and then the Terra Evolutions, where it's like we're giving you slightly different things, but it's all still Pokemon. Whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, they started being like, we're losing our audience. How do we do this? And rather than just upping their storytelling and being like, cool, we're going to tell a better story, we're going to tell an updated this, like we're going to do some kind of like merging evolution, which they kind of did. They were like on the right path, and then they kind of updated everything, and they were like, cool, now we're going to do Digimon, where your Digimon and you merge and become one fighting. It's like they tried to like change the anime to its core, which is like, before it was like you have a person and you have a Digimon, and you guys work together. Like the humans got the Digivice, which allows you to get stronger, faster, and evolve and all that, Digivolve, and then it was like, oh, cool, you're gonna combine and fight things together, like almost like Gundam, but it meeting Iron Man meeting Digimon, and like same with Yu-Gi-Oh, where it was like, hey, we've got this cool idea for we've got the duelist tournaments, and we've got the island, and then we've got the city tournament, and then we've got the Egyptian style theme. Those were great. And then it was like, hey, we're going to do Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Academy. And I was like, oh, cool. This makes sense. It's a linear, like, cool, it is expanded outside of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Kaiba, Joey tournament stuff. Of course, it's become a worldwide phenomenon. Cool. And then it just became like, now you've got XYZ monsters, and now you've got Giga monsters, and it just kind of, they change so much that, like, their core audience won't come back to it. So the reason that Pokemon, in my opinion, has been able to maintain its foothold, on top of the fact that it's got Nintendo behind it. I mean, I know all the logical reasons corporately why they succeeded as well, but I think that Pokemon has always stayed Pokemon and just changed the seasoning of Pokemon. Like, hey, you've always got chicken, but we're gonna season this chicken differently. Whereas Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were like, hey, we're gonna mostly keep this chicken, but now it's gonna be like, I don't know, this metaphor's coming off the rails, but they've started changing more and more.
You gotta add different meats in there, man. You're like, oh, it's beef now and shrimp.
This tastes like tilapia. I think that they changed too much of their core, that like me as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I kind of abandoned it because it outgrew me, because the generation below me is getting a different version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Digimon than I got. Because of the change to the core mechanics of what makes their universe tick, or what makes their system tick. Whereas Pokemon always just stayed Pokemon, so I can always jump back to Pokemon. I might be like, what the hell is this Terra Raid stuff? But I still get the concept of Pokemon. It's all still Pokemon at the end of the day, which can get stale and needs evolution, but they're doing it right in that they're building on top of itself rather than tearing everything down and rebuilding with similar mechanics.
I think with Digimon just is coming back now. And I think they kind of realized that because they went back to like the original
Did
guys,
they?
like the original
That's
team.
great.
Yeah. So they went back to the original team. They're all kids again. I think they're restarting it. Like
They're
kind of
rebooting?
they're kind of sticking with the same. Yeah, they're rebooting it essentially. From what I've seen, I've seen like the new art style of it. It looks really good. So I might want to jump back into it because I love Digimon.
Yeah, fun fact. I
your
currently
rant?
have in the box because I haven't opened it since Christmas, but Brandon for Christmas, because I mention it apparently every time I see it in the wild. They have so they used to have cooler versions, but they have Digimon Tamagotchis, where you can like keep your Digimon and you feed them and everything like that. They used to have versions where they would literally have like the Digivice. So like the Digivice that they would have, and then they would have the Tamagotchi on it and have little buttons. And like the more you feed them, eventually they're able to like digivolve. So you start with like whatever Agumon's like chibi plush version is, like the like toy version of him, and then they evolve into Agumon, and then he evolves into Greymon, and then he evolves into War Greymon. I can do that on the Tamagotchi, which I think is really cool. I thought it was a lot cooler when it was actually a Digivice instead of just like a regular Tamagotchi square. But I'm still very happy to have it, and I need someone else to get one. Hint, hint, Shane, so that you can.
I was gonna get one, so I knew she bought it for you.
Did you?
I knew she bought it for you because she showed me, and I was like, dude, he's gonna fucking love that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and I said to her, I was like, well, I guess I gotta get one now.
You gotta get one so that we can like our guys can, I don't know, play or like exchange or fight. I don't know, but it's definitely interactive. So I feel like you need to get one so that we can take care of our Digimon together.
Yeah, I definitely will. So is that your top 10 list? Is it?
I think I have. I think it's a top 13 at the end of the day. But it's
okay.
Who's gonna tell me no?
Hey, fuck it. Yeah. Okay. So let me think. You already have a few of them on your list.
Yeah, you're welcome for going first.
So, this is not in order of like I think this one's better than the other. This is just top 10 list of the things I think are great. It definitely would be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Excuse me.
Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I merged those two in my head. They're the same show. It's just a time skip for me.
Yeah. Yep. Naruto Shippuden. You didn't say this one, which was a surprise. Seven Deadly Sins goes in my tier. Demon Slayer for me. I had it all. JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
See, I haven't seen it
so that's
yet.
5. God, dude, it's so good. If you want comedic relief, JoJo's is a good one. One that I just started, and I think it should go on my list now, is Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is really, really funny, dude. Okay. It is fucking hilarious. So, really quick, a small concept of what Dr. Stone is. So, essentially, it's just these two characters, well, multiple characters, but the one main character, he's like a boy genius. He loves science, and what happens is this calamity happens where the whole world gets petrified by something. Something causes all of them to be like petrified, kind of like Medusa, where they all turn to stone. And 3,000 plus years goes by, and the world deteriorates, kind of rebuilds itself. Animals are flourishing, the forests have taken over everything, and all of a sudden, this drop of something, I think it's like sulfuric acid, drops on their head, on the main guy's head. His name's Senku. Drops on his head, and he's released from the stone. And he's been for 3,000 years counting in his brain to keep his conscious alive, so that way he doesn't drift off into sleep. So when it finally happens, he's like, I'm alive. So his whole purpose is to find a way to revive people and restart civilization. But he's essentially like the genius of this world because he knows science. He knows how everything works. And he figures out how to build like a fucking generator from like copper ore that he has these guys mine, and like they make copper wire and all this other shit. And he makes like, it's not like a metal generator you find today, but he uses like the water from the river. Yeah, he finds the water from the river to generate current and then he makes like these primitive batteries and all this shit. But throughout the whole thing, it's so funny, man. It is really hilarious. I recommend this to anyone who wants to get into watching anime, or to you if you want to sit back. Something that is easy digestible, but will fucking make you laugh all the time. I'm forever cracking up. My wife's like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm real
watching
good.
my show." Yeah, it is very funny. And I think it's a good concept of an anime. It's a great idea. So Dr. Stone has to go on there. I think that's 6, or that's a 5. I can't remember. I think it's 5. So then I would put Sword Art in there. That's 6. Then I would put Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Gundam. I'm putting Gundam in a hole because I love Gundam altogether.
Yeah.
Inuyasha. I love Inuyasha.
That's 10.
That's yeah. That takes back to the 90s. There's so many more I could list, but
is there any honorable mentions you want to throw out?
Honorable mentions. I'm trying to think of my list that I'm watching now.
Ooh, I just thought of honorable mentions for mine. Okay, going back to my list, I might have to cut somebody out, but Haiku, the volleyball anime,
I was surprised you didn't say
and
that.
Kuroko's basketball, both. I will bump. Who do I want to bump? I'll think about who I want to bump.
Okay. I'm thinking, dude, how did I not put it? My Hero Academia, it has to get bumped into the top 10. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to swap out, I love Yu-Gi-Oh, but I think after the whole Egyptian tournament thing, I kind of stopped watching it.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's kind of what I was mentioning with mine, which is like once they finished up their Egyptian arc, I went back because I realized I had just kind of like drifted off at some point, and then I actually wrapped it up. It doesn't. I mean, not to name drop, but the actor who plays Yugi is one of my voice coaches, so I have a nostalgia place for Yu-Gi-Oh, and so obviously it's gonna land on my list because he taught me how to voice act.
Yeah. Hunter x Hunter. I forgot about that. So that's gonna replace Digimon.
I feel like this is the problem with doing these on the fly. Is I feel like we should have written them down so that when we think of them.
I'm looking at my Crunchyroll list now that I've watched, and I'm like, oh yeah,
that's such a good idea. Oh yeah, I forgot that existed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my top 10. I had to put Hunter x Hunter in there. It's such a good one.
All right, my top 10 has turned into a top 15, and I don't feel bad about it.
Okay, we'll save this. I'll cut this all out. So then we're going to redo another 27 minutes, and we're going to put this in episode 15.
Well, yeah, we'll make this episode 15. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I have an idea. So we're keeping with the top 10 list thing for episode 10. We've got a couple other 10 themed things, but while we're on the top, doing top 10s for the 10th episode, let's do this. Let's combine our efforts combined. We'll go back and forth for the top 10. This is top 10 things that just any nerd should consume. This is it can be books, it can be audiobooks, it can be movies, it can be TV, it can be manga, it can be whatever you want it to be. But as a nerd, here are 10 things that Roll4NerdyCheck thinks that you need to experience as a nerd.
First one has to be.
So we each get 5, and we'll tag back and forth.
Okay. First one has to be anime.
Be more specific. So that's too broad. If you have to recommend,
so
it has to be something that you can specifically point to and say, "Go consume this content right now." Not just broadly do anime, but like,
all right, Full Metal
Alchemist. Perfect. I'm gonna write these down, and that way we'll put the list in the comments or whatever. So you said Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, right?
Yeah. Yep.
FMAB. All right. I don't want to take this one from you because I wrote down some because you gotta have them down in case, because you only have to have 5, but God forbid the other person take one of your 5. You have to have backups.
Put it in.
Okay, I'm going to put one out that I know for a fact that you're not going to throw out. So there is an audiobook series right now. It's actually still going. So if you want to jump in, there are still books to come. But it is an audiobook or a book series called He Who Fights with Monsters. And it is, imagine Sword Art Online, because it is that lit RPG style, which is this character gets ripped from their world into an alternate world. It's not straight into a video game, but it is of that concept. He gets video game like powers so that his brain can understand how magic works over there. So it just kind of part of his outworlder abilities. It is right now in April. We're getting the 9th book. I'm on the 8th book. I consume them like a fish can. I have to. It's like breathing. When they come out, everything else gets put to the wayside, and I do this. It's a fantastic. The main character's name is Jason Asano. It is a wonderful series, like I said, about a character who gets ripped straight from Earth to a different universe where they have magical abilities. The mechanics, the systems of magic in that universe are wonderful, but more than anything, the storytelling is wonderful. I've read and listened to a lot of audiobooks that are lit RPG that use the video game mechanics that I feel over rely on the video game theme. So they'll say, oh, this takes 50 mana, this takes 100 mana, I've got a pool of blah, blah, blah. In He Who Fights with Monster, it's like this is with a light cooldown, with a medium cooldown, with a heavy cooldown. So the author never specifically refers to oh, this takes 200 mana out of your 1000 thing. It is a mechanic used to enhance the storytelling side of things, it's done beautifully. The author goes by Shirtaloon. The audiobook reader Heath Miller does absolutely wonderful. He gets the sarcasm. That book has made me laugh so hard I was crying and then just actually cry. So full spectrum of emotions. They do a wonderful job. You get super attached to the characters. I think that if you are a nerd who likes that style of book / entertainment medium, go read or listen to. I personally recommend the audiobook because I think the audiobook reader does a better job with the tone from each character, the sarcasm, the emotions, than I could, and I'm a voice actor, than I could consuming it, but having it given to me, I think it is a better medium. So He Who Fights with Monsters by Shirtaloon, read by Heath Miller, can't recommend it enough.
Okay. I thought about mine when you were talking. Either the books or the movies. You got to watch Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
You got to watch it. I was like, you got to watch that. It's kind of a must.
Trying not to give the rest of my list up, but I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It says Lord of the Rings, #1, and that's why I was like, I'm not taking Lord of the Rings from Shane. It's his favorite thing.
So, I mean, like I said, it could be the books or the movies. Me personally, I would read the books because it has more detail. It goes in way more detail about everything. But hey, the movies are great too. I watch them every year around the same time. It's kind of like a theme I have. It has everything you want. It has a bad guy that everyone bands together to try to destroy, and
it's that basic evil that's just easy to hate. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for, like, you know how, like, Loki's one of those villains where you're like, oh, man, he's a villain, but I understand where he's coming from. I love those. They add depth to things. It makes you think critically about people in general, but sometimes it's just nice to have a Voldemort.
He's the bad guy.
Like, he's just the embodiment of evil, and sometimes it's just nice to hate.
Yep. Nope. There's no
thinking about it. There's no, am I on his side? Am I not? You know, was Thanos right when he, snapped away half the universe, all that. Nope. Just plain, straight, evil bad guy.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. I watched Black Adam the other day.
Oh, how was it?
It's on HBO Max. I
think that says enough.
Yeah.
If your reaction immediately wasn't like, it was pretty good, or like, oh, I enjoyed it, if you have to be like, well, no one's ever done that and then followed it with, that was the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
So do you think it's okay for me to say some spoil? Do you want me to say some things?
Considering
or no?
that I think that the dissolving that universe, I think it's okay to throw out some spoilers. Plus, it's been plenty of time.
It's there's only two things I would say that they could have done better. One, Dr. Fate, he wasn't strong in the movie, which is kind of bullshit because he's one of the strongest DC characters.
Yeah, he's supposed
around.
to be on par with like Doctor Strange, but stronger.
Yeah, he was weak as shit in that movie. Atom Smasher had like no screen time, didn't do anything.
Yeah, I heard Atom Smasher. Like it's crazy because a lot of DC people who I know were really excited to see those secondary characters, and they were like, I saw more screen time in commercials for Atom Smasher than I think Atom Smasher legitimately got in the movie. Where like in the trailers, because they're like, oh, look at this team, they kept like cutting to him, and that was like every scene that he was in the commercials.
Yeah. He was like the comedic relief. Like he like grows too big and then like he hits things. Like he's still new with his powers, which is cool. It's fine, but like they didn't really show him doing anything. He was just there as a supporting character, but like super supporting, where he's like really in the background. Where it was like the Dwayne the Rock. It wasn't even Black Adam. It was Dwayne the Rock Johnson in a Black Adam suit.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people kind of cooled on The Rock, because he was like, hot commodity. Not that he's not still, but I think the problem is that he was doing a bunch of like, he had done some movies before that felt like he was a component of the movie, a big component, but a component. Whereas a lot of the DC fans were like, this felt like he came in and was like, I want this movie to be The Rock, a superhero, instead of Black Adam. And that's where a lot of people were like, hey, you've now ruined a potential franchise so that you could come off like The Rock, the superhero, instead of Black Adam.
So Black Adam is essentially he's a supervillain. Like he's not a hero. Yeah. But in the movie they made him
he was
to be
an
a hero.
Anti-hero, but like not much.
Yeah. Like he was. So yeah, okay, fine. If you want to consider him an anti-hero, he was definitely a anti-hero in this movie, but they really laid into the hero aspect of this movie.
They went full-blown hero for him.
Sort of, but I mean, he's
hero
killing
who
people.
Will kill, and it's like,
yeah,
okay.
Like he's like killing people. Hawkman was cool. He was cool in the movie, but he was straight up getting wrecked the whole time.
Yeah,
I was kind of depressed about that.
So again, this goes back into what I was saying about like why Black Adam failed. Is that A, it felt like The Rock, the superhero, the movie. B, they made him more hero than anything when he is. It would be like if the MCU was like, hey, we're gonna have a Doctor Doom film and he's gonna be mostly the hero, and it's like he has helped the heroes before, but that was more in his own self-interest than anything. So if you want to call it an anti-hero, I guess you could. And this was like, I am The Rock, I'm a hero, but I'm also gonna kill, unlike the heroes. And it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you have the MCU where people will just kill because it needs to be done. But also that he was so OP in the movie that it was like, why even put other superheroes in there? And the answer was, we put in other superheroes so that we could be like, whoa, these guys are superheroes, and look how strong this guy is. He's making them look weak. And it's like, that doesn't do it. Look, as a professional wrestling fan, that doesn't do anyone any good when you bring in a guy and you're like, oh, I'm just going to have him crush nobodies. Because at the end of the day, the other heroes don't look good.
Yeah.
He doesn't look any stronger because he looks better than them, because they're all new heroes. So you remember in Justice League, specifically the Snyderverse cut, where Superman, like Flash starts running and Superman just kind of gives one of these.
Sees him. Yeah.
And that's like even though Flash is new, it's like, oh, I understand how powerful that makes Superman look, because they did a good job of making Flash establishing that he's so stupidly fast, and they never made a huge deal of Superman's speed before that. This going into this is these are all new characters where it doesn't sound like they set them up very well to seem like big bad heroes, and then The Rock comes in or Black Adam comes in and
No, you
just
said it right. The Rock
overshadows. The Rock comes in, overshadows everybody, and is like, I'm a badass and I don't listen to anybody. And it was
pretty
like,
much. So he did this whole thing.
It doesn't endear me to him. It doesn't endear me to them. It makes everybody look weaker in the process.
Yeah, so like it did this thing where like his typical thing, look, nothing, no hate to you, Rock. You're cool. Like I love you next to Kevin Hart doing like the funniest shit, but like for this type of thing, like he comes in, he's just like, they're like, hey, you know, we're all heroes, and he's like, I'm not a hero. I'm like, cool, like you're so badass, dude. Wow, that's so awesome. And like, so my gripe is like, they didn't really build up Hawkman, you know, Dr. Fate and all them. Like they assume you know these characters, right?
Yeah,
they assume
which is not
a
good assumption because it's not the Flash, it's not Superman.
So like Dr. Fate comes in, which I think is it Pierce Brosnan that plays the Dr. Fate? Yeah, so Pierce Brosnan,
excellent casting choice.
Great, exactly. I was like, he's a great casting choice for Dr. Fate. I believe it. He's great, but like him being Dr. Fate, he's like doing his thing, like he's doing his magic stuff, and he's kind of holding his own a little bit. But they made Black Adam or The Rock so strong that he dwarfed everyone else. Like where you forget he even had a team behind him fighting. So like it almost like, and when this is spoilers, when Dr. Fate dies, he dies in the movie.
Wow, that's a bummer considering what an amazing character he is.
I know. I was like, I literally, after he died, I almost turned off the movie. I really did.
I can't believe they killed it. So I haven't seen it for the record. So, I mean, and I don't know if I was going to watch it at any point, it would have been a let's get intoxicated and watch a movie for how comically bad it probably is. I'm sure the fight scenes are great.
Oh, we can still do that.
But that would be like if you brought Doctor Strange in, like, okay, let's have a Superman, or not Superman, what would be a good, let's have a Thor movie where Doctor Strange comes in for the first time, and then they kill him that movie. What a waste. What a humongous, tremendous waste of one of your best franchises just to feed the the Black Adam hype of like, isn't he so strong? Look how strong he is.
Yeah.
And it's like,
so like they build it up where like Hawkman and him have like this relationship. They've had it for a long time. And like you kind of feel, they don't build it up enough to where you kind of feel that. So that when he dies, I just get pissed off. I'm not like, oh no. I'm more like,
right,
what the
you're
fuck?
not attached to them.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
the thing is,
the best.
To go back to what you had said, they assumed that you know these characters, but also the only people who would know those characters are going to be fans of those characters, like deep dive fans, and then you just disrespect those fans by making them look extra weak and killing them, all to feed the Black Adam hype train.
Yeah,
and it's like, it does no benefit to anyone, because now the hardcore fans are going to dislike the franchise and they're going to dislike Black Adam because it was all just to feed, isn't he so cool? Isn't he so strong? So they're not going to tune in anymore. It's not a good movie by writing standards, from what I understand. It's not like a well-told story. It's not like a well-developed story for these characters. So now non-traditional fans, the casual audience, is going to be like, this. It was fine. It was everything I fear a superhero movie will be, which is no real plot. It's like porn, but with superheroes. There's not a ton of plot. There's not a lot of character development. You're going there to mostly watch one thing. In this case, it would be punching, explosions, superhero stuff, and it meets that criteria fine, but it doesn't do anything extra. Like it's not trying any harder, and all it does is feed The Rock's ego and make Black Adam look cool, I guess. So that that was his whole tagline, and people were like, on the internet were like roasting him for it, because the line kept being, what is it, the hierarchy of power in the DCEU is about to change. And it was like, yeah, because you took a bunch of characters that were beloved by original fans, made them look weak as shit so that you could come in and be like, I'm so strong, I am Black Adam. But at the same time, you're not changing the hierarchy of power because you didn't put him against the Flash or against Superman or against any of the ones we know already. It's easy to come in and be like, I have beaten these heroes that none of the casual fans know, and all the comic book fans are pissed. Isn't that great?
I could make this movie better in these little changes I'll make right now. Okay, you make Hawkman just as strong as Black Adam. Not saying I wouldn't say just as strong, but on his level, I should say.
He can hold his own.
He can go against Black Adam, especially when they fight. It's kind of like they make it seem like it's both-sided at first, but then Hawkman essentially gets his ass whooped. So it's always one-sided. So excuse me. So you make Hawkman as on par. He can hold his own with Black Adam. Then Dr. Fate doesn't die. Also, you could write it in. Why is Dr. Fate not really doing much? Oh, he's holding back power. He's holding back. He's not showing his true power. He wants to see how Black Adam is, how he will react, how he's doing his thing, and he doesn't want to.
What's crazy about what that is to enhance on what you're saying, when you do that, and this is, I say this so frequently, and it blows my mind that it's not done more. All it takes to satisfy the actually nerds, well, actually, Black Adam isn't stronger than Dr. Fate because Dr. Fate is magic and magic is that kind of fan. All it takes is a throwaway line, 1-2 sentences in a movie that says, I won't use my full strength against you because magic is so overwhelmingly powerful that if I slip even a little bit, it'll obliterate you out of existence.
Yeah.
So that when he dies, even if you do kill him, which is a mistake, but even if you do kill him, at that point, people can be like, oh man, if he had given it his all, it would have been a legit fight, but he was being noble. He was being honorable by not, you know how Spider-Man holds back his punches?
Yeah, yeah.
All it takes is a couple throwaway lines to be like, oh shit, Spider-Man is literally always holding back in a fight. He never fully unleashes because he would rip people apart.
Yeah.
All it takes is a Dr. Fate saying, I only use 10% of my power because if I use any more than that, it would wipe you off existence. Then you can kill him. Then you also could bring him back and be like, oh, actually, he has a spell that if he dies, it puts him in a stasis, blah, blah, blah. It actually just teleports him to the future right before he dies, and it gives his body the ability to heal. There's some, magic bullshit that you can throw in there.
So they could literally done this, too. They could have had a conversation between Hawk, say at the end of the movie or something. They say, don't kill off Dr. Fate, right? Hawkman I thought you were stronger than that. He's like, I am. I was holding back. You could kind of lead into the comedic relief. He's like, and he smirks. He could smirk and be like, I was holding back. And then right. Hawkman could be like, oh shit. And this is the last thing they could have done to make it 10 times better. Because then you could have left it into the DCU universe now that they're building.
I think I know where you're going with this.
And then you could build off of Hawkman and Atom Smasher and everything, because now I don't think they're going to reprise their roles, obviously, from what they did. Don't put fucking Henry Cavill in the fucking ending credits. Don't put him in, because Amanda Waller is going to be the same person. It's going to be the same actress. She's going to be in the shows and everything. Okay? Don't put Henry Cavill as Superman in. Put Shazam in there. Amanda Waller will go, hey, don't worry. You think you're strong? We have someone just as strong. And all of a sudden, you see the glow of the lightning coming out of the shadows. And he'd be like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm you, but better. Something like that.
All you have to do, this is where I thought you were going to go with it, which is, I didn't think you were going to throw the Henry Cavill part in, but just one extra step, which is, all you have to do is instead of Henry Cavill showing up, and don't do a post-credit. Or I guess you could have, but whatever. I would have to see the movie, and I'll watch it at some point. Is you have the Rock being like, I'm gonna kill him. Have his whole struggle being that he kills and that they don't want him to kill, because that's not what heroes do. And then have him go to Did Dr. Fate? Yeah,
that's what essentially what was going on in the movie. Like he kept killing the hero, like the people, and Hawkman's like, we don't kill, blah blah blah, we don't kill. He's like, well, I kill, and blah blah. He's like, it gets it done faster. And there's one funny line in the movie there. The dude is like chasing after someone, and he's like, where's the boy, blah blah, and then he's like, I don't know. He like throws him, and then Dr. Fate's like, bring the man to me. I'll read his mind. And he's like, you threw him already, didn't you? He's like. And then, like, the Rock looks over, the guy falls down and hits the ground. He's like, he didn't make it. I'm like, okay, that's funny. But
it's funny, but also, like, you're a perpetuant child.
Yeah.
Perpetuant? Whatever. A petulant child. Okay. Here's what I would do. You tease the Shazamness throughout. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't tease it, but like, oh, we have someone similar to your powers. We know how to handle your powers. They don't, but like... And then you have Amanda Waller say that if you don't get in check, then we're going to make sure you get in check. And they say that in the first third of the movie. Mm-hmm. Then you have him get out of line. And then they're like, if we're here as the Justice Society to bring you in and show you the ways of heroes. And he's like, I'm going to keep killing. And they're like, you can't keep killing. Bad Rock.
Yeah.
And then you have the climax of the movie be him turning on the Justice Society and being like, fuck you. I never said I was going to be a hero. You made me. You're trying to make me a hero, and that's not what I am. And then you go to start to kill, or you can even kill one if you want to, but don't make it Dr. Fate. Like, he's one of the best franchises that you potentially have. You have him either go to kill or start to kill or actually kill one of the heroes. And then he reels back, and as he does, you just hear, Shazam! And then they fight. And then the big climax of the movie is Shazam and him standing off. And then you can even have him, here's what you do. You have the climax, and then you have him turn on the heroes in the, like, post-climax where you're like, oh shit, is it going to get even bigger than this? Then you have Shazam come in, stop him, and have Black Adam be like, who are you? And he's like, I have the same powers you have. I am Shazam. Like, mm-hmm. I am Fury of the Gods kind of mm-hmm. thing. And then you have Black Adam be like, this isn't the last you've seen of me, and then dip out. And then you have the post-credit scene be him, like, finding evilness or being like, it doesn't, like, finding his evil layer or whatever. Now you've had a movie that is the traditional hero, that, like, introduction. What is it? I can't think of the word right now. Backstory, you got to get the base for this person, but rather than being like, oh, we're getting introduced to a hero, mm-hmm. you get introduced to somebody you think is going to be a hero, and then he turns into a villain, and now you've got him lingering in the DCEU, and you can make him the Thanos for the Justice League, where it's like mm-hmm. he just kind of keeps popping up, and it's like it makes Shazam look stronger because he's able to hold his own. It makes Black Adam look stronger against someone we know because we know how strong Shazam is.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it gives you a back door to bring this character back and have him be the big bad. I mean, imagine if and this is where they could have succeeded where the MCU didn't. Imagine if there is a Thanos movie where you think Thanos is going to be like a good guy, and they're like, oh, maybe they repackage this character. And then it's like, nope, we're just introducing you via movie to the big bad of the franchise. Like that, they had potential there, but because it was The Rock wanting to look strong as a superhero and be like, oh, I'm a big bad superhero, aren't I cool? I mean, he kept pushing it out from what I understand. So he kept pushing it out so that he didn't want to touch Shazam. He didn't want to be anywhere near Shazam because Shazam is on his level. So he wanted everyone to be beneath his level so that his character could look extra cool. And it just doesn't work that way. And you can't change the franchise for the actor.
Yeah, and that's what pissed me off about the DCEU is that, like, they missed the mark so bad because they literally show the wizard Shazam in the fucking movie. They show him doing the thing, and like, so if you watch Shazam that he's in the same universe or he's part of the same thing. So, okay, I understand Superman. Henry Cavill is your big ticket hero, right? But he doesn't need to be in every fucking thing. He doesn't need to stop every fucking villain, because you have heroes. You have heroes that are just as strong as Superman, and it's been shown in the comics. Shazam is just as strong as fucking Superman. He just has magic. He's just not a Kryptonian alien.
Oh, and for the record, in case anyone thinks otherwise, the Flash is faster than Superman.
He is. He just is faster. He is faster.
Like, the thing is, Superman is just OP in every category. So he is, you know how they say, like, jack of all trades, master of none? Mm-hmm. Well, the DC universe has a lot of masters of one. You know, I am the strongest physical person alive. Okay, well, Superman may not be physically stronger, but he's stronger. He's extra strong. He's a 9 out of 10 on strength. Actually, Superman's insanely strong, but that's OP. Not the point. Yeah. The point is that he's OP everywhere. So he is not a jack of all trades, master of one. He is a master of all. Mm-hmm. So, like, you don't need to pull Superman in for every threat. Otherwise, Superman looks weaker by comparison, and everyone else looks stronger by comparison in a bad way. Like, you need to have Flash beating him in a foot race. You need to have Batman outthinking him. You need to have those things happening so that you can realize Superman is not just omnipotent. He is super OP, but he does have things. He just can't be killed for the most part.
So I want to say this to any Superman fan out there. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend you, but I'm going to. Superman gets bitched by a human. I'm sorry. He gets bitched by my favorite hero, Batman. And it's a fact because he's smarter.
He's also weak to magic. So, like, pretty much anyone who can wield magic is... I don't know if they've retconned that at any point, but I know that was like a thing for a long time.
They haven't shown it in the DC... Well, now it doesn't matter. They didn't really specify that in the Snyderverse.
In the movies they never do, but in the comics I know that he is susceptible to magic.
Yeah, because, like, when he fights Shazam in the comics, because they think Shazam's like an evil person, he realizes that he's like, oh, this is magic, and I'm weak against magic, I guess. Because Shazam starts shooting lightning at him. He's like, oh, God, it hurts.
Doesn't he grab him at one point? He, like, holds him upside down and just, like... Or maybe that was from the Justice League show where he, like, grabs him and he's like, Shazam! 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 So that the lightning bolt, which is magic, would keep hitting him.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it's the thing is, like, it's just that small little detail. Like, this is your time to where you have everything kind of lined up to where you could have put Shazam in it. You didn't have to put Henry Cavill because now that you have Henry Cavill in it, you can't.
You just can't retcon it, and that was their mistake for allowing that to happen. 3 months, 2 months, a month, I can't remember. It was a very short time frame after Black Adam came out that they were like, by the way, Henry Cavill will not be returning as Superman, even though he just returned as Superman in Black Adam. Yeah. That was the last of Henry Cavill. And it's like, man, that sucks, because now what you've done is that you've done a couple of damage things. You've teased a fight that'll never happen. They're not going to, I mean, they might do a Black Adam 2, but it's not like it did well enough to justify it. It's like, you know how they're keeping Shazam going as an we don't know for sure, but probably as an Elseworlds story. They've said like the Batman, Joker, probably Shazam are going to be Elseworld stories, which is like, hey, they're going to be unrelated to the DCU. Yeah. But you'll still get them because they're a successful franchise. Right. I think Aquaman technically might fall in that category. I don't know if they've decided yet. Yeah. Aquaman 2, I should say. So it'll be interesting to see where that lands. But probably we're never going to get to see that Henry Cavill Superman versus The Rock's Black Adam. And so you've teased it now for no reason. You've now shoehorned that this exact story won't. You might have Black Adam in the future. It might even be The Rock, but it's not going to be the same story, and they're probably not going to cast the same people. I would love it if they would recast Pierce Brosnan as like a, hey, now we're in the DCU, and since it's flashpointed, meaning that like some things have changed, some things haven't, it would be like, cool, your character's back and it's still you, but it's just not the story that you had seen. But I do think that because they don't want to confuse their audience too much, they're probably not going to do that.
I know.
they're probably going to cast different actors.
I'm just like and this is just me. I honestly didn't want a Superman a Black Adam fight. It's kind of boring to me, honestly. I would want a Shazam.
It certainly feels like they're skipping over the obvious part,
Yeah.
which is Black Adam versus Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like if they put Joker in a Superman movie right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's like it's one thing if you want to build that up for later, and it's like, hey, the Joker is actually going to be the big bad of the entire DCU, which wouldn't be unheard of. It's certainly happened before, and Injustice is a perfect example of that. But certainly it feels like if before you introduced Joker, if you had a Joker movie, and then the person who comes to stop the Joker at the end of the post-credit scene is Superman.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, you could do that. I'm not saying that it's not an unreasonable thing to expect,
Right.
but it certainly makes more sense to have Batman show up to stop the Joker.
Yeah, that's my point too. Is like it kind of makes it it kind of like spits in people's faces who love these characters type of thing. You're like, oh, Black Adam's so strong where Shazam can't handle him, so we got to bring in Superman. Or the Joker's too crazy, Batman can't handle him, so we're gonna bring Superman. And like Superman shows up for everything, you know? Like really, like come on.
And it also Superman was never like the government, and especially Amanda Waller's like bitch boy.
Yeah.
He was always like compliant because I am an American citizen and all, but it was always like I'll do what's best and what's right in these situations without you needing to tell me that I need to go do it. I was
Right.
never like the soldier. It was never like the American government sends me, and especially Amanda Waller. Like he and Amanda Waller never like got on great. So to have him kind of be like the Amanda Waller's like big red button of like, oh, I've got a problem, Superman, just keep hitting that Superman button. It makes your universe feel hollow. Like the whole point is that like, imagine if in the MCU they just sent Thor for every problem.
Yeah.
Because he's big and strong and godlike.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, hey, you've got this Iron Man villain, Thor. Oh, you've got this, I don't know, Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, all of these people who have normal people problems that all kind of balance. Boom, send in Thor. Boom, send in Hulk every time.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a problem, send in the Hulk. And it's like, that's not the solution to every problem, and you're not doing a great job of fleshing out your universe.
Yeah.
If your universe just relies on the same 4 heroes over and over again, in a universe that is overpacked with superheroes, in my opinion.
Literally, you can go through a Rolodex and be like, all right, pick this one.
Right. Like, you can't have the entire Suicide Squad on hand and then be like, send in Superman. And I get it. Black Adam is above, like, Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But also, like, we have now seen that there are a lot of heroes in this universe. We've seen Justice League. We've seen blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you send in the Flash? I mean, literally in Peacemaker, at the end of Peacemaker, all of the Justice League shows up. And at least that makes more sense to me. If you sent the entire Justice League after him, that makes Black Adam look even more badass. It makes the Justice League look like a functioning society of protectors. And it makes more sense to be like, uh-oh, here's a problem, send in the Justice League. Because we sent in the entire Justice League for Peacemaker, and it was made to be a joke at the end, which I don't know if you finished Peacemaker.
I did.
But like, he finishes, the entire Justice League shows up, and he's like, where the fuck have you guys been? Or like, too fucking late. But they're going to send in the entire Justice League for the Peacemaker level argument. But when you've got Black Adam, who's supposed to be a god out there wrecking shit, you're like, I only need Superman for that. And it's like, this is why when James Gunn was like, we're hard rebooting. It's going to be a hard break. We're rebooting the entire DCU because it's just too disjointed. Yeah. That makes sense because they will throw the entire Justice League at a C plus B minus level problem, and then you've got a guy who is allegedly an A plus problem that you only send Superman for. it just needs more
made it
cohesion,
also-
and it needs somebody saying this doesn't make sense for the franchise, the DC franchise.
I'll make this note, and then we'll get back to our list so we can hammer that last point because we got on this tangent. But
It's true.
It made the movie. It made me when I watched the movie, and it had that last part. I know it sounds like a cop out, but it made it that last scene with Henry Cavill and Black Adam talking to each other. It made the movie minute. It made it worthless to me. It was like, what was the point of me watching this? Because you ruined it, knowing that they are doing a dramatic change. You know, so I was like, eh.
Also, if there are threats happening, because I assume that there were also threats that he was fighting, he wasn't just the problem. It makes you wonder at that point, where was Superman that entire time?
Right.
If it's a big enough problem to send in Superman, why not send him to start? Or why not send in the Flash, and then when the Flash fails, you send in Superman?
Yep.
Or whatever the case may be. But you've got the Justice Society of America, or whatever they are. You've got them handling the problem, looking like idiots, looking incompetent, and looking unable to reel in Black Adam. I don't know. It felt disjointed. It felt like decisions were made because they sound cool, and because somebody, The Rock, was like, no, I don't want my character. I mean, the fact that he was like, my character can't lose a fight. It's a superhero thing. If you don't lose a fight, then what's the point? Like, I'm not saying you have to lose every fight, but like, part of the hero's journey is learning from your mistakes and growing. If you're just constantly winning, then that's not interesting.
Yeah. And this is the last. Okay, I'm gonna say last. This is the last thing too. The only reason why he was able to get captured is because he chose to be captured. He was so like powerful to the point where they couldn't do anything to him. So he's like, all right, I'll go, blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, nah, I want you to get stomped out, and they force your ass to go.
Right. Like, at very least, I mean, find a way, find a neutralizer. Have it be that when he comes out of his slumber or whatever, he doesn't have all his powers off the bat. You know, or like it feels wonky. So he's like, oh, it's kind of like ironically in Moana, when The Rock's character is what's his name, Maui, and it's like, oh, he's not full strength because this or whatever. Like, you can do it where he's like, you're not taking me in, and then they're like, who's gonna stop us? And he's like, I'm gonna stop you. And he like goes to like shoot a lightning bolt or whatever, and it just doesn't work. Or like he goes to like pick up a rock to throw at them, and he's like, oh. And it's like, yeah, your body is coming out of a 3,000-year slumber, so it hasn't rebooted all the way. And then Dr. Fate's like, magic, and it like ties him up, and he's like, when I get my full strength back, I am going to wreck you. And they're like, yeah. And, you know, there are ways to do it, but it sounds like The Rock was like, my character can't look weak at any point throughout this entire movie. And it's like, well, then I don't want to watch it, because nobody wants to watch somebody just OPing their way through a movie.
Yeah, and this is why I'm glad that the DCU, James Gunn's DCU, I hope that they don't bring. Again, this is nothing against The Rock, but like, I don't want actors with egos to be in this type of franchise, because it doesn't make for good storytelling, and it doesn't make it for fun for us comic book nerds or loving these heroes. Because like, when you have something like that, it just makes it not palatable. It doesn't make it enjoyable at all, because then you're kind of just force-fed this thing, and you're like, I don't want to eat it, but like, no, eat it. And you're like, no, I don't want to. And where if you have James Gunn,
they're like, we'll tell you what you're going to enjoy.
And like,
and we're like, that we don't enjoy that.
And James Gunn could be like, well, we're going to have these, they're not no-name actors, but they're going to be actors that we feel are going to be right for these roles, and it will fit. It'll fit, and you'll grow to love them.
This is something that I feel like the MCU does really well, and I've always complimented the MCU on their casting ability, because I think that they cast for the role, not for the actor, which I think is very important. And I think that DC, it's something that they can do, and I hope that they do. But this is another way of phrasing this is, in the MCU, whenever you hear people talk about the MCU, about their franchise, whether it be Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers as a whole, Spider-Man, they're all talking about how they're contributing to the story. I'm so honored to get to move the MCU forward. I'm so excited to give this to the MCU. I'm so excited. And that's not something that I've ever I get it from some people, Henry Cavill especially, but like it doesn't feel like when they're making a DCEU project that they're doing it to enhance the DC universe. And that's I think why people kind of rejected the whole when The Rock was saying, "Oh, the Black Adam's about to change the hierarchy of power inside the DC universe," and it's like because you're coming in and saying I'm gonna make the DC universe better with my presence, my character's presence, and it's like you're not pushing it forward. You're trying to take the attention of the DC universe and pull it to yourself, rather than saying how can I make the DC universe better? How can I increase it? And it's just something I've never felt from DC actors outside of Henry Cavill. Maybe Jason Momoa as Aquaman. But it just always
Gal Gadot
felt
too
like
is maybe.
I would say Gal Gadot felt like honored to be Wonder Woman, but I don't feel like she was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to explore the Wonder Woman universe." It felt like I'm so honored to play. Whereas like a lot of the MCU characters are like, "Oh my god, I have grown up on Kamala Khan. I've always been it's just everyone felt like they were a team on the MCU to put, and when they talk about like an Endgame where they're talking about like the funeral scene in Endgame where they're like, you're looking around and you're seeing, all of these amazing actors, all of these amazing people, and it's just cool to get to contribute that to something. It's really amazing that we're all pushing the MCU forward together, whereas I felt like DC, everybody was kind of in their own specific, like, yeah, we're excited to do this movie, and it was like, but you're not excited to push DC forward. You're excited to be in a successful franchise, and it felt a little different. And I know that can be a little harsh on some of the people, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot. It just didn't feel the same. It felt like they were actors who were really excited to do a big acting role, and how exciting and fun it is to do that acting role, but not about I'm so excited to move this juggernaut of a franchise forward and continue to keep satisfying fans.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's hop back into what we were saying with the list. Let's shotgun it because we're running low. Yeah,
Shotgun.
We're running low on time.
Running low on time. Okay, so I left off with He Who Fights with Monsters.
I said Lord of the Rings and I said Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So you have another two.
Yep, I said He Who Fights with Monsters. My next one, Breath of the Wild. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. As a game is, in my opinion, is a perfect 10 game, and I think that if you are a fan of video games, especially if you are a Nintendo video game player, but even if you're not, I think it is a must-play franchise.
That's a good one. I like that. Now I'm trying to get back in that mood of what I was trying to think. Lord of the Rings. Me personally, if I feel like you should watch Star Wars. If you're a nerd, good sci-fi Star Wars movie. Maybe not the later ones, but I guess they are canon technically. But if you can watch the 3 prequels to the older, the
3 originals, the 3, and then the prequels.
Yeah, I'd say you're good. You don't have to watch.
Okay. That it is, at least for nerd cred reasons, you have to watch them. Like I've watched 1 through 6 and 7 and a couple of the like spin-offs.
Mando.
I don't.
Yeah, you could watch Mando.
I haven't watched Mando yet, but my love of Pedro Pascal is making me want to go watch The Mandalorian.
It's coming back out soon,
so much.
So I'm liking it.
That's fair. Okay, so my turn. Speaking of Pedro Pascal, I think that The Last of Us show is a must-watch as a nerdy fan. I think that it takes the video game genre and is the best video game to live action series adaptation that we've ever gotten.
I would second that one. That's a pretty good one. What game? I'm trying to think of a game that I would say every nerd should play. Go to your next one, and I'm gonna think real quick.
Okay, we're on
Six,
6?
I've done 3.
You've done 3. I've done
Yep.
3. Yeah. Okay. I will say Avengers Endgame. I think that obviously I think that it is much better if you have seen everything leading up to that, but I think it is a bigger ask to say phases 1 through 3 of Marvel. I think that Endgame is the crescendo to a decade-long build. I think that it is very well done. I think it is, despite the fact that time can get very messy, they found a way to handle that well, which is the next phases of the MCU. But I think that Endgame is just, if anything, I would say, okay, let me tweak this. I would say Infinity War and Endgame together as a back-to-back. Even if you've never seen any of the other Marvel movies, you can appreciate what's happening. You can understand the big moments. They kind of speak for themselves. And even if you don't know the character that well, you'll understand that what's happening is cool. Oh, Thor showed up. He's a badass. Oh, all the portals open up and everybody comes out and they do the Avengers Assemble. You can just appreciate just that. And I think it is the pinnacle of the MCU thus far. And so I think it is a requirement as a nerd fan if you to do the superhero climax.
Okay. I feel like for someone to digest something like a longer style anime, I would say Naruto Shippuden for me. Naruto Shippuden is a long anime, but not crazy long like One Piece. You would be able to enjoy because it has some sad parts, but it has some really exciting parts where you get your adrenaline going, and then it has a decent ending. So I feel like Naruto is a good one to add in there. I would say, I want to say an RPG. Maybe I would say maybe Final Fantasy as a whole. Like if you play like Final Fantasy, maybe to me, you're nerd.
Okay. The Final Fantasy franchise kind of speaks for itself. Okay. I'm gonna say, and is this my fifth pick? Fourth or fifth? I'm gonna say Hogwarts Legacy. I know it's new, and that's controversial because you gotta sometimes see how things shake out. But as a Harry Potter fan, and I was tempted to write Harry Potter the books as a thing, but I think that Hogwarts Legacy, I do think that Harry Potter obviously is that way, but I think that's more my personal recommendation. Whereas I feel like Hogwarts Legacy specifically ties up a lot of the loose threads from the Harry Potter series. I think it is a phenomenal game in and of itself, and I think they combine the Harry Potter franchise with a really, really good game in a way that makes it a 10 out of 10. So especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, it's on the list. But even if you're not, I think it is a game that is pretty worth playing.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So rather than Harry Potter, which has potential issues of like, there are people who can point towards flaws in the series, and I don't argue them. I think that they're completely valid. The world building could be better. There are certainly some loose ends of why this or why that just sometimes get tied up with magic, and some just don't get tied up at all. So I think that Hogwarts Legacy helps to tie some of those loose ends together, and it gives you I think the story of Harry Potter is very good, but I think that the Hogwarts Legacy experience is, I don't know. I stand by it.
I agree with you. I think me as my nerdiness thing of my childhood coming up into being an adult nerd, playing Pokemon games.
I'm glad you said it because it was like my honorable mention.
Playing,
was be the
you
Pokemon
can play.
franchise.
It doesn't really matter where you start, but obviously we started from Gen 1, so playing any kind of Pokemon game, doing the grinding, going through the story, doing your thing, leveling your Pokemon, trying to beat the Elite Four. That is a nerdy thing to do, in my opinion.
It's funny because I see a lot of memes, jokes, TikToks about like back in my day when I was playing Pokemon, we had XP share. You had to earn it halfway through the game. You could only give it to one Pokemon. You only found like 7 rare candies throughout the entire game, and now they're just like given to you like nothing. And it doesn't bother me. Whenever people try to, like, especially nerds, it always just reminds me of that boomer mentality. You ever see, like, a meme from a boomer that's like, if we wanted to mess this whole generation up, all we have to do is drive manual and write in cursive, and they'll never know what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not how civilization evolves. You can't just be like, oh, whenever I see that, I just want to comment and be like, okay, let's bust out some typewriters and see if you could do that too. Like, just because you can do it that way doesn't mean it's good or efficient. It just means that's how you know.
Kind of funny.
So when I see people out there like knocking Pokemon, I'm like, let's not be Pokemon boomers, guys.
Well,
like, it's just different. And are you not enjoying the quality of life?
What's also funny is like those people don't act like you didn't buy a fucking Game Shark card and didn't cheat. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I bought a Game Shark card and I would download off the computer the code to get 100 million Master Balls and a fucking 100 million rare candies.
Or not even that you went out and bought a MasterCard, but look me in the eye and tell me you didn't do the missing no cheat, where you would put your Master Ball in the first slot and then you'd talk to the guy who's laying on the ground saying that he needs his coffee, when in reality in Japan it was that he was drunk. And he needed his coffee in the morning. You talked to him. He showed you how to catch a Pokemon. You fly to Cinnabar Island. You surf along the east coast, or the east coast of that island, and then you encounter Missing No. You catch Missing No, and then the game glitches, and all of a sudden you have 99,999,999 Master Balls and rare candies. Like, we all do it. Or, like, I understand some people didn't do it, but, like, let's not throw shade because the game has figured out a way to give you that component without you having to, like,
that's where I feel like people are so mad because, like, or where they had the boomer mentality, where you and I had to go through the work of learning the cheats or buying a specific like hardware to put your game into to have the cheat, where the game's like, well, rather you not cheat, I'm just gonna give you the thing that you want. And people are like, whoa, whoa, where's the work in that?
Whoa. You're just going to give them a Master Ball? And you're just going to give them a bunch of rare candies? So they can just let
me playing the later games, I'm like, sweet, I don't have to frickin' break this game for me to get rare candies anymore.
Also, let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about how people will go on the internet and be like, it's so much easier for kids these days. So much easier for kids these days to just get their Pokemon. You know who it's easier for? Me, a 30-plus-year-old man who only has a set number of hours in the day because I have to work a full-time job, and I also run a D&D campaign, and I also do voiceover, and I also do a bunch of other crap, and so I don't have time to sit there and grind out a single Pokemon up to level 80 6 times just so that I can fight the Elite Four back to back to back to back to back and then fight the champion. No, I don't give a shit about them kids. It's easier for me.
Now, before we get too far,
that's how I like it.
It's an hour and 22. Did you want to say this topic for an episode and talk about it, or
no? I'll just cut the tangent there.
Okay. But yeah, I think so. We hammered out our top 10. I think it's a good top 10 list. For you.
We hit some top 10s for episode 10.
So
I think we're feeling good.
Recap it real quick. So we got a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Watch that.
Yep. Lord of the Rings. He Who Fights with Monsters. Breath of the Wild. Hogwarts Legacy. Endgame. Last of Us.
And then we got Pokemon. Play any kind of Pokemon. Naruto, Shippuden. And then, do we not have a 10?
I feel like there was another one.
I didn't write mine down.
We're the least professional podcasters. We didn't write any of this. In case anyone thinks we write this stuff down, we have vague ideas going into our podcast.
Okay, let's think of one real quick. Oh, did you say Breath of the Wild? Okay.
I did say Breath of the Wild. I've got Lord of the Rings. I wrote some of them down. Lord of the Rings, He Who Fights with Monsters, Breath of the Wild, Hogwarts Legacy, Avengers Endgame / Infinity Wars, Last of Us the show, and the game if you want to play it. Why not? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Naruto, and then I've got 2 slots open.
Let's say read comic books. That's very vague, but read comic books.
Comic books in general. That's very specific. But
Or
we're running
graphic
out of
novels.
time.
I'll even throw those in there.
Play video games. Go be nerds. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Mario. I think you should play
Yeah.
any Mario and Pokemon.
Okay, there
was,
you go.
I think the last one.
Perfect.
That's how we got on this. So Mario and Pokemon. That's probably 11. We probably left somebody out.
Top
It doesn't
10.
matter.
See ya,
You're still with
bye.
us. If you're still with us, just enjoy it. Go be nerds.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I think we can end it there. That's a good one. Yeah.
I think we can end it there too. Okay. The usual outros. Find us on social media. Roll4NerdyCheck with the 4 being in the number 4. Roll4NerdyCheck on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. The places you go to be social, we're there. Podcasting. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're any, Apple's, they've got their
You're
own
doing really
specific
good at
thing.
this. You're doing
Go
really
wherever
good.
wherever you find, I'm so good at this. Wherever you find podcasts, we're there. Look us up. Roll4NerdyCheck.
Episodes.
Yeah. Outro.
Episodes come out every Tuesday. So if you
Every Tuesday we do cool
Yeah,
tangents like
every
this where we
Tuesday.
forget stuff and you just get to have ADD with 2 guys with ADD.
Yeah.
Isn't that
If
fun?
you not notice, we've gone on like 18 different topics so far this episode, even though we were like, it's a top 10 list.
Black Adam was nowhere in our
I-
notes. We had
I
no
forgot to
intention
tell
of
you.
talking about
Yeah, I
Black
forgot to tell you
Black
that I
Adam.
watched it, and I like had to get it out. I was like, I have to talk about this.
That's okay. We pretend like we have structure in these podcasts so that we can blend in with the normies, and then we
Yeah,
just go on
yeah.
long tangents. So if you haven't learned by episode 10, that's what we do. If you don't like it, fine, go by. But like we're gonna have really long ADD nerd tangents,
Yeah.
and that's the fun of this.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yeah.
us. Trying to control.
So new
us.
episodes of Roll Podcast come out every Tuesday. So be on the lookout for those video versions on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please leave comments and let us know what you would want to hear.
Yes.
We like coming up with ideas, but we also want to hear from our audience what we want them to hear us talk about. We're also playing Roll4NerdyCheck Gaming. It comes out on Thursdays. I'm going through Hogwarts Legacy. Not as far as Zach, as clearly he's hammering through the game. He's probably beaten it by now.
Look, we'll talk about that next episode, but I have consumed it like a heroin addict.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
I'm sitting at work and I'm like, I could be a wizard right now, man.
So be on the lookout for every Thursday for a new episode of Roll4NerdyCheck Gaming. I won't play Hogwarts Legacy all the time. I want to jump into some other things, but just be on the lookout. That's where I'm at right now. Other than that, stay nerdy, my friends. Thank you for watching episode 10.
Wow.